All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekakwadash. Giving double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Shalom to all the brothers out here laboring in this truth with sincerity. Shalom to the few sisters that watch. Just coming back with another lesson. Because actually it was inspired by the brother Shamak out of the Atlanta camp, GMS Atlanta camp, about how, the world is in a mirthful, spirit right now, partying, doing all manner of wickedness, but ultimately not paying attention to what's going on around them, We just had an earthquake, in Tennessee yesterday, and we felt the aftershocks here in Atlanta, man. But, these are all signs, of the coming of the end, wars, rumors of wars, things of that nature. But these people still want to party. They want to make plans. They want to do this. They want to do that, but it's all in the spirit of fun, fun and folly. But, like he said, we put everything in perspective. We're not trying to be over righteous. But at this time, man, it's really time to focus on what Yahweh Shem Yahushua expects, if you want to gain salvation. So, we'll go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 55. And we're going to drop down to verse 6. It says, "Seek ye the Lord Yahweh while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near." Because we know time is getting short, man. Wickedness is at an all-time high and steadily increasing, man. All kind of judgment is being brought forth, by way of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. But the people are so blinded, and they want to continue in their wicked ways and the ways that make them feel good, to the point where they overlook what's going on around them. That's what separates us, from the world, man. We're not occupied in the things that they're occupied in. We're occupied in pleasing Yahweh Shem Yahushua and doing the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua first and foremost, before anything, man. So let's see what verse 7 says. "Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts." It says, "And let him return unto the Lord Yahweh, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our power, for he will abundantly pardon." So that's what we're doing, man. We're repenting, and we have repented of our wicked ways, and came back to Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man. We understand we're in this sinful flesh. Things happen, we go off, but the thing about it, man, we don't continue in that manner. We stop, we check ourselves immediately, and we get back on the path, man. That straight and narrow path, to try to please Yahweh Shem Yahushua, bring his word out and reach the elect, so we can get out of here, man. So let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 24. As a matter of fact, I got a clip, and this took place, or I guess it takes place, here in Atlanta. Let's see. Salaki. The hell? Look at this line, look at the line. And as you see, it's mostly females. Females. You see it says Domain Atlanta. So I guess it's some club, but it's full of females. Full of females, man. All they think about is partying and having fun. You see some Jake scattered in there, but for the most part, it's these females, man. They're the ones that's gonna really. It's these females, that they're the ones that's gonna really feel it when Yahweh Shem Yahushua starts to bring that judgment about, at a high rate. We see that they're in that mirthful spirit, man. Like the brother said yesterday, 60% of the men here in Babylon the Great has detached from society. That they came to the realization, man, that it's all folly, But you still have some men that involve themselves in the folly. Those men have detached from this world, so to speak, not fully, not in the manner that we have. We completely detached, We just here to survive until the Lord comes, man. That's what we trying to do. We're in survival mode. All right. So this is the book of Matthew chapter 36. Salaki chapter 24 and verse 36. It says, "But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only." So this is our Lord Yahweh speaking. Matter of fact, let's go and put it in the red letter. So this is the Lord speaking. He's patiently waiting on his order to come back, man. And utterly waste this place, America, Babylon the Great, and save the elect. So it says, verse 37, it says, "But as the days of Noe were, so shall also the coming of Son of Man be." And we know the people, on the earth at that time, man, were partying, being in that mirthful spirit, not even regarding the word of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, just being straight unbelievers, man. Verse 38, it says, "For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark." So all the way up until the end, I got rid of it. But like that clip showed, all the way up until the end, you had people doing that, man. Standing in a mile line long just to get in the club. It says, "And knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." So, all the way up until till the Lord comes back, until these nuclear missiles are shot off. These people are going to still be in that spirit, having fun, Hey, man, and I just seen a billboard, man. They got all kind of billboards up with, talking about STDs and stuff like that, man. Hey, man, these people have no concept of what's going on in the world. They're strictly about what makes them feel good, man, to the point where they don't even protect themselves anymore. So this younger generation is finished, man. It can't keep going that way. So we know we're short in time, even if you look at that, man, because these people are just gone. They have no morals. They're just wicked. So we're going to continue on. But this is the point, this is the point of this lesson. Whether people here or forbear, it still has to come out. And this is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 5 and verse 7. It says, "Make no tarrying, Salakia, to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day." And when you go into tarrying, it's delaying. You know, you're delaying, you are procrastinating. So you expect the Lord to be here always. You expect this door to be open always. You expect this truth to be here always. But you don't know Yahweh Shem Yahushua is gonna cut it off, man. You know, it's not gonna be here forever. You're not gonna see the prophets out on the highways and hedges all the time, you know. It says, "For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance." So basically, you're going to be destroyed, you know. 2/3 of our people are going to be out of here, man. 2/3 of our people are going to be out of here. All right, this book of Zechariah, chapter 13 and verse 8, it says, "And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein." You know, you don't hear this in your Christian church. You know, they tell you that the Lord is coming back to save everybody. The Lord loves everybody. You know, most people can make it as long as you believe, which is nonsense. You know, believe in Jesus, so to speak. It says, "And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord Yahweh is my power." Speaking of the elect, let's see. Going into the famine, Salakia. And I should know that. This is the book of Amos, chapter 8, and verse 11. It says, "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst of water, but of hearing the words of the Lord Yahweh." So this door is closing, you know, is slowly closing now, but eventually, man, it's going to slam shut in the faces of the unbelievers. And they're going to be cut off, man, you know. So, Lord willing, this was just an edifying lesson. You know, we want to constantly give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekakwadash. Shalom.